Hello, my name is Ash Silcott, and I'm a 15-year-old HRC Youth Ambassador from Wyoming. Although it's true that antelope do outnumber us, people do actually live there. But back to my story. Growing up, I always sort of knew that I liked girls, but didn't feel like one myself. Luckily, my parents were strong advocates for LGBTQ rights, so being rejected at home wasn't something that worried me. School, however, was a different story. By fifth grade, the word gay had become a common insult on the playground or on the school bus. I felt alone and became depressed and began to have thoughts of suicide. According to the Trevor Project's national survey, 40% of LGBTQ and more than half of transgender and non-binary youth have seriously considered attempting suicide. And although I no longer feel suicidal, I still battle depression due to the lack of support I receive at school. I came out to my parents during middle school and they accepted me fully. Sadly, this is rare. According to HRC's last youth report, nearly 50% of LGBTQ youth out to their parents or guardians say that their family make them feel bad for being LGBTQ. I then found the courage to come out to my peers at school, which quickly led to experiencing homophobia. I was on the receiving end of slurs and received written threats in my locker. Fearing for your safety in middle school doesn't align well with getting good grades. But I tried to remain strong and luckily found supportive friends that helped me get through some of the most difficult times. As I became even more resilient, I was able to support several peers in coming out, which made me feel proud. The following school year, I joined my school's GSA. I was a member for about 5 weeks, but the bullying I had experienced the previous year became even worse. It made me feel so unsafe that I left the club altogether. Soon after, a group of students put up extremely anti-LGBTQ and racist posters, and my local school board began to hold meetings on the issue. Although I still felt really scared, I went to each meeting and bravely spoke from the podium as one of the only children representing the students affected. I was also interviewed by different news stations about the racism and anti-LGBTQ discrimination that was going on in my school. During this difficult time, 3 of my peers attempted suicide. Despite these tragedies, the school board decided to ban the GSA's posters, including the LGBTQ pride flag. One of the teachers even had the audacity to compare the pride flag with the Confederate flag to justify it being banned on school property. In response, I took a stand and decided to dye my hair the colors of the rainbow. As more attention was placed on the school board by advocates and the media, one of the students behind the racist and anti-LGBTQ posters was suspended and the school was required to hire an inclusivity counselor to provide training for all staff. Their responses didn't seem to make the school any safer. The district's reaction seemed far too neutral, and that gave my peers a wink and a nod that they could continue that racist and anti-LGBTQ slurs and behavior. I continued to feel depressed, and I debated whether to succumb to isolation or to take a stand. I'm proud to say I decided to speak up. I knew the challenges I was experiencing was not isolated to just my school or district. So I started a virtual GSA that is statewide to support LGBTQ youth all over Wyoming. Although I am proud to be an advocate for my fellow LGBTQ peers, I wish adults in our lives would do the work to create safe and inclusive spaces so that we could focus on being students. We need to make the world seem a little less against us, and that requires a focused effort by the type of professionals listening to me right now. My hope is that youth in my state and throughout the world are surrounded by affirming support and never feel like their lives or their identities are not of tremendous value. I asked Time to Thrive attendees, what will you do to make sure LGBTQ youth and other youth who are often marginalized know that they are supported and valued for exactly who they are? I'll leave us with the words of Adam Silvera in his book, They Both Die at the End. Life isn't meant to be lived alone. So please, if you find a gay kid, a queer student, a marginalized youth, don't let them ever feel alone or without worth. Remind them that they are loved and that they belong. Thank you.